Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to 6 a.m. on this lovely Thursday morning. So, this morning, I thought I would tell you guys about one of my favorite ways of using essential oils, and that is in my kitchen. I love my kitchen, y'all. The kitchen's like the heart of my house. And so when I learned that Young Living vitality oils were made to be put in food and drinks, um, I decided to start using them when I cook. And it's been really nice. So here's a couple of things I've done in the past week or two. So last week I had my family and I had harvested pears from the pear tree in our yard. Never dealt with pears before, but I decided to make some pear jam and made some pear butter. And what I have learned from that is pear butter is a team sport. Let me tell you, fruit butters are a lot of work. But anyway, so my mother-in-law and I were just having a cooking fest that week, trying to process all of these pears. And then she had brought also some peaches and some strawberries, all the things. So we were making jam like crazy, because that's usually what I do with fruit. I make jam because my kids are like peanut butter and jelly fiends. If I let them, that would be all they'd eat. So we go through a lot of jam. Anyway, so I made a combination jam, which was a lot of fun. And then I had some pears left. I was going to make just some plain pear jam. And as I was making it, my husband comes in. He's like, "Why don't you try adding some orange to that?" And I'm like, "Okay." So I grabbed my orange vitality oil and y'all, it's like a big old pot of jam, like huge. It's my gumbo pot. And I'm making jam in there. And I added like 5 drops of orange. And I'm tasting it and it's like, wow, that's a lot of orange. I probably should have cut that down a little bit. Hopefully it mellowed after it finished cooling, but when it was still warm, I mean, it was a very intense orange flavor. You could still taste the pear, but it was very intense orange. So we did that, and then I found a recipe for fruit butters, and my mother-in-law are making this pear butter because why not? Never had it before. And, it calls for cinnamon and nutmeg. So I went ahead and added the dried cinnamon and nutmeg like it called for. And, as it's finishing up, I'm tasting it because, of course, you want to taste something before you can it, because once it's canned, you're not really going to change it. So I'm tasting it. It's like, it needs something else. I'm like, I know. So I grabbed my clove vitality oil. And I didn't even put a full drop. I just dipped a little toothpick in there and swirled it around, gave it a taste, and that was so good. And I'm glad I didn't add a full drop, because that would have been way too much. It did not need a full drop of clove. Clove is rather strong. And then I ended up doing the same thing with the nutmeg. It needed a little more nutmeg, so I grabbed my nutmeg vitality oil, dipped my toothpick in it, and just swirled it through the butter. And it's the same thing, y'all. I'm using this big old gumbo pot and making my fruit butter in there. And it did not even take a full drop of oil to get the flavor that I wanted. So got the spices balanced that way and canned it. And this week I decided to make some biscuits so that we could try this pear butter. And my son anytime we have biscuits, all he wants on his biscuit is jelly. And my daughter, all she wants is honey. Y'all, they both asked pretty much every day for pear butter on their biscuits. I thought that was pretty impressive myself. But so I was very pleased with the way the flavor had come out on that pear butter. And then the other one I want to tell you about was earlier this week, I had made some homemade mashed potatoes. Like, I took real potatoes and real butter and real milk, so not the stuff out of the box. And I was making mashed potatoes. I love garlic rosemary mashed potatoes. Those are like my all-time favorite. Excuse me, I'm a little froggy this morning. Way to make mashed potatoes. The only thing is, I find I don't like dealing with rosemary itself. It's a very sticky herb. Like when you're pulling the leaves off, and the leaves, since they're needles, they're very pokey, and I have had them get stuck in my gums before. Love the flavor, hate dealing with rosemary. So I keep rosemary oil on hand at all times because I actually use it every day to help with my sinuses, keep them clear and doing their thing. So I grabbed some rosemary vitality and I put like one, maybe 2 drops. I was aiming for 1, but I think 2 might have come out of the bottle in my mashed potatoes. And that was like perfect. So it gave me that amazing rosemary flavor that I love, but without all the pokey leaves in my mouth, which was good. So, yeah, I mean, cooking with essential oils is great. They don't expire. As long as you keep them lidded and out of direct sunlight, they're not going to evaporate on you, which is great. When you're cooking, especially with heat, the big thing you want to learn how to do is season your food with oils last. So once you're done cooking, once you take it off the heat, that's when you add your essential oils. If you add them in too early in the process, they kind of evolve off and you lose a lot of the flavor and a lot of the good things in the oils. So you want to add them last, which was an adjustment for me. I'm not used to adding all my flavor at the end of a meal. I'm used to adding it throughout and then continually taste testing it to make sure it's where I want. So that has been a bit of an adjustment, but that's okay. I'm getting used to it. But, when you're paying mere cents per drop, and a lot of times it doesn't even take a full drop to flavor whatever dish you're cooking, especially if you cook in smaller amounts than I do. I am from South Louisiana. I cook for armies, and I am a firm believer in leftovers. So I do not cook small amounts. I cook large amounts. So like if it takes me an entire drop to flavor my big old gumbo pot, if you're cooking for like 2 or 3 people, a toothpick dip would be more than enough. Like a quick toothpick dip would be plenty to flavor a smaller meal. So you figure, like I said, these oils, they're super concentrated, so it doesn't take much. They last forever, and they're full of good things that God put in there for you, because you figure what gives your dried herbs their flavor is the little bit of oil that's still in there. So if it takes a ton of dried herb to get or spice to get the flavor you're looking for, a little bit of pure oil will go a very long way. So, you're paying, like I said, mere cents for a drop of oil, whereas I don't know how much dried spices cost per, because it depends on the dish, how much you're adding, and da da da. I'm not going to figure out price per grain. That's ridiculous, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning. All right. Well, that was what I wanted to share with you guys this morning, is kind of a little bit about how I use oils in the kitchen, because they are incredibly flavorful and they're full of all those good things that God put in there. So that's kind of what I have been working on the past couple of weeks. We've been jamming like crazy and learning how to do fruit butter and all the things, y'all. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.